Hey, it's Dave Jacobson. This video is a guide for anyone setting up QueueMaster for the first time. So first, just follow the instructions that are included with the install file. That'll show you where to actually place the QueueMaster file. Placing it into the scripts UI folder is important because you're going to want to be able to dock QueueMaster with your After Effects interface. So once you've done that, you're going to go to this window menu and you're going to go down to the bottom where the scripts are, and you're going to do QueueMaster, and it should say the version number that you just installed. You will need to either start it in trial mode or you'll use the serial number that you get from aescripts. I'm just going to run it in trial. When you see QueueMaster for the first time, you're going to notice that there's a lot of blank buttons, and that's actually okay. That's intended to be that way. You're going to actually be determining what goes on those buttons. So in general, QueueMaster is going to sit in the corner, or it's going to sit somewhere hopefully that it doesn't use up a lot of space on your screen. I find that it's best to move QueueMaster to a larger pane when you are configuring it. So I've actually set up a workspace for that. And it goes down here. And you're going to go to the full tab. You'll notice all the label colors are right here. And so this is where you set up your output settings for each label color. I have some awesome graphics over here, and I'm ready to render client approvals for these. So I generally use cyan for that. The first thing I need to do is I need to actually load my templates in. When QueueMaster launches, it needs you to refresh the template lists. And anytime you go up into the menu and you change your templates and you want to use new templates, you need to make sure that you refresh them right here with this button, like so. You'll notice that something drops into the render queue for a second, and what that's doing is it's extracting all the templates out of there. It's just the script working, so don't worry about that. For this, we only need one output module, so I'm going to just turn that on. And I'm also going to go ahead and set the QL button. You'll notice that immediately that appears on the button that corresponds to the cyan label. So I've got that right there. I can even go ahead and highlight all my comps and apply that. And right now, QueueMaster wouldn't do anything if I dropped that in my queue because I haven't set up any templates yet. So I'm going to render it out 16-bit, and I'm going to use this little guy right here to tell it to apply the label that's in the drop-down menu to this field right here. But you can also type in the name of the template if you know what it is. Or this is also a good way if you haven't made the template yet, but you know exactly what you're going to call it, you can go ahead and type it in here. I'm going to render out prores proxy for my approvals. I'm going to apply that in there. And then for path type, I'm going to use relative. This is great because it means that it's going to go where my After Effects project file lives. Now, let's take a look at that for 1 second. This is where my project lives, and I actually don't want it to save the QuickTime here. I actually want it to go up a level from here to the root of my project, and I want it to go into this renders folder. So the way I'm going to get it to do that is I'm going to select the parent folder value right here, and I'm going to set that to 1. That's what's going to tell it to go up one level from this AEP file. So it's going to go up to here. So right now, if I didn't add anything else, this is where my QuickTime would render, but I want it to go into this renders folder. So then I'm going to add that word, renders, and I'm going to add a / since I'm on Mac. And there you go. So now, this is what I would get. I'm actually interested in adding one more folder though. I want it to go into an approvals folder. So, and because on the Mac, it alphabetizes folders with files and mixes them up, I actually want to keep my folders at the top, so I'll add an underscore. I'm going to type in approvals. And notice that if you forget to add a / on the end, it'll add one for you. Also notice that you should not add a / to the beginning of this file path. That's important. I'm going to leave my bin parent folder value set to 0. I don't want it replicating the bin folder hierarchy. If I set this value to 1, for example, it would actually make another folder at the end of this path called comps. So this is nice if you've organized all your folders in your bin a certain way and you want to replicate that into your Finder or your file system. But I'm not interested in doing that right now. Last, I actually want to set a version. So, and you can tell it how many digits you want in the version number. That's all this means right here. I usually only go for 2 digits, but I've added a lot more in case anybody needs them. I hope you don't really need that many version numbers, but just in case. I'm also going to add a space to the suffix. I know you can't see that once you hit enter, but it's there. You can highlight it. I want to add a space between my version number and the file name that comes out. The file name is going to be based on the comp name. I'm not doing anything with image sequences, so these are going to get ignored. And that's basically it. So I can drop these in my render queue now. I'm going to hit prep queue down here. You can hit this one, or you can hit the one right here. It makes no difference. I'll just hit this one because I'm kind of still setting up templates, and that's why I put this here. So you can kind of play around with these settings and see how they look. So I just hit that. So now it's set up all my templates. It is set up the file name. So I've got comps 1 through 5, and then they're all going to be version 1 since I haven't rendered these yet. I'm going to go in my Finder, and if I go into that renders folder now, you'll see that I have the approvals folder. Of course, the QuickTimes aren't there yet. I haven't rendered them. Let's just go ahead and do that really fast. Okay, so those renders have finished now. I can look in my Finder, and those are there. So that's great. Let's say the client comes back and they want to make a couple changes to these comps. So I'll drop them in there one more time. I hit prep queue. It's made version 2s. I hit render. It does its thing. And there they are. And I can keep doing that all day long. Alright. So let's say our files are approved now, so we need to do final renders. So I typically use green for that. What I actually want to do is, this is sort of close to what I want my final settings to be. I'm just going to change a couple little things. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hit the copy button right here, and then I'm going to go to green, and I'm going to hit paste, and so now my settings are in there. I'm going to change proxy to prores 4x. I'm going to remove the approvals folder, and I want it to just go into my renders folder. I'm going to leave the version number on there just because things always come back after they ship. It's pretty normal. So these are ready to go. So, oops, I forgot to set my quick label button. I'm going to call this green label final. So now I've got final on there. So I could click the button right here, final. And there we go. They're green. I drop them in. I prep the queue. And everything's ready to go. So I'm going to hit render now. And it's going to crunch through these, and you'll see them showing up in the Finder. There they are. So let's say that now my client has come back and realized they wanted me to deliver this a different way. Instead, they actually want me to provide image sequences. They want the RGB channels in one image sequence, they want the alpha in a different image sequence, and they want an audio file as well on top of that. So I need to automate all those things so I don't have to set it up each time. So let's do that now. So I'm going to go and I'm going to choose an orange label now. And we're going to use all 3 output modules to do this. I'm going to set it for best 16, which is usually what I work with, unless I'm in 32-bit. I'm going to go to PNG RGB right here. I'm going to go to PNG alpha, and these of course are just templates that I've set up. There's nothing special about them. I'm going to choose AIF 48. There we go. Whoa, thank you autosave. So I'm going to set these up as relative once again. Don't need parent folders. Sorry, that's wrong. I do need parent folders because I don't want it going into my AEP folder. I'm going to have all that go in my renders folder again. And in fact, on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and create a little bit more separation. I want those to go into PNG folders so that they don't make too much of a mess. I'm cool with the audio going in there too. I like to keep the audio file with these. And I'm actually going to have it create individual folders for each image sequence. Don't need that for the audio, obviously. I'm going to do versioning. And I want to add a dot to separate the frame numbers rather than an underscore. And then one other thing I need to do that's very important, because right now these two output modules are trying to produce the exact same file, because these are both going to produce PNGs and it's trying to go to the same place, and because it's based on the same comp name, you would wind up with After Effects trying to render out the same names for both file sequences, and that doesn't work. And it will warn you in the render queue if you try to do something like that. So there will be warning. It doesn't just happen. So I need to differentiate those file names. I'm going to do that with my suffix. So in addition to putting a space in between the v1 and the comp name, I'm going to add in brackets RGB. So, and I have spaces on both sides of those so that it'll separate nicely from the file name. And then that one's going to be alpha. And that's it. So we are all done setting up this. Oops, I need to do my quick label. So this will just be called, make it image sequence plus audio. Not the greatest, but it'll do. So I'm going to highlight all these. And keep in mind, you can also actually just pick the color in here. If you know what color it is, you're welcome to do that. But the thing that's nice about the quick labels is that you don't have to always remember the color label that you're trying to use. You can just click on it and it'll take care of the association. So now I'm going to drop these guys into my render queue, and I just need to hit prep queue, and it's going to go through and set up all those file names. It's added all the output modules, which I find to be a very tedious process when you have a lot of these comps, and that does happen to me from time to time. So the file names have been differentiated because I'm writing out 2 different PNG sequences. There's my audio files. So if I go into my Finder really quick, it has made all these new folders. It has actually made a folder for each one of these PNGs. So I have 5 render queue items, and I have 10 folders here since it's creating RGB and alphas for each one. And then of course the audio files are going to show up in here as well. So I can go ahead and hit render now, and it's going to start cranking those out. It's going to be filling these folders with image sequences, and then the audio files are going next to it. So it's organizing everything for me as it goes. So it's also great because I'm not having to create all these folders. It's just all happening, and all you got to do is put the color labels on the comps and drop them in the queue. So that's it. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. Give me a shout if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.